We're going to finish our summit by talking a little bit about what we can do to empower patients through technology. We have heard a lot about science, medical science, and about the care plans. And we heard from Dr. Hardy's panel about how to treat patients holistically, take care of the practical aspects of how to handle the process of transplantation. But what we haven't talked about is how to take all that care management that we heard Dr. Crew and Dr. Ali describe, which sounded all good, but it sounded somewhat complex to be able to handle that. And we were struggling with who's the quarterback, who's actually managing it. And, here we have attempted to propose some solutions on how to empower patients to be even more fluent in their understanding of how to take care of yourself, but also capture data that we heard from Dr. Cohen earlier this morning, and of course from all providers, that they want to learn more about how we actually feel as patients and the symptoms that may not be registered in lab data, but actually happen every single day. So if we could capture that in a more larger number versus the N of one, which is good for case studies, but it's more difficult when it comes to developing new drugs. That would be beneficial. So what we have tried to do here is to create a patient empowerment tool that can help patients to stay not only adherent with their medication, but also capture some of these metrics that we need to do, especially in the first 3 months, as well as improve that communication that, in some ways we saw in the panel where we had Joan Kelly and Ann Lawler and Jamie Imhoff and Dr. Hardy. And we saw the dialogue between a physician and a patient. And, we want to really empower that dialogue because it is so important. Jamie's coming from the perspective of, I want to do everything. And Dr. Hardy knows how hard it is to do a transplant and how few they are, these organs that we're distributing to the patients. And they're so valuable. So he wants it to be safe. Right. And there's a balance between that, keeping an organ safe and also allowing the patient to live their lives. And I think that dialogue we want to truly empower by increasing the kind of the dialogue between the patient and the provider. So that's kind of what we have attempted to do here. And this is done now in a paper form. All of us who have gone through a transplant have, in the first 3 months, we've been given maybe, a piece of paper or a guide and telling us what is the journey, what does it look like, how often do you have to come back to see your doctor, how often do you have to do lab results, what are the things you have to measure and note those things on a piece of paper. Education. And what we're proposing is, instead of putting it all on loose pieces of paper, can we keep this in the phone that we're all looking at all the time, right? Can we keep it in a digital format, which is not only easier, but it also will capture all that data that we'd like to use to improve the care in the future. So that's what we are now working on, and we're calling it Transplant 365. And anyone who would like to take a look at this, and I think actually it might be possible to share a few of the screens and even videos of how this would look like. And I'd like to welcome Leslie up to kind of present this potential solution that we have pretty much ready in the next month or two for patients to use.
And by the way, if it weren't for Alicia's stretch, we wouldn't be doing this right now. But we're reinvigorated. We were ready to cancel this part, but now that Alicia woke us up again, we're ready to go. So this is our demo prototype of Transplant 365. You would be greeted every morning with a happy kidney that can be named. It can be Kiki, it can be a croissant, sorry. And that is what would welcome you every morning. And at the bottom of the screen, you have certain measurements that would be, I'm not able to click through to the video. but that's okay. We can just show that screen. I can speak to it. At the bottom, there's a scroll. Ooh, hello. There we go. This is scrolling, and it gives you the last things that you've measured. It gives you an indication of how good you've been at taking your important medications. And that will be scrolling across the screen. The next attribute I'm going to share with you is the roadmap. And the roadmap is a visual representation of what your transplant center would be setting out for you as what to expect in a standard care program. We fully recognize everyone has their own journey, but this is what the transplant center would be putting forth. It reminds you, for example, in month one, your provider appointments, your blood work, and which metrics are important to be tracking during that time. You can click in and see, what do I need to do to prepare for my visit? Who's my transplant team if I need to call it? This is all at your fingertips. This is not sitting at your desk at home while you're 3 miles from home. This is always with you. When to call my doctor? What are those metrics? Is it when the temperature is 102 or 100.2? It's all in here. So this is digitizing and making a digital note taker for you and a digital solution to have all of this information at your fingertip that the centers have put together so thoughtfully into those big fat binders that we don't tend to carry around with us. The next part of this is the metric tracking. Again, we have our Happy Kidney welcoming you and thanking you for coming to track your temperature today. And we're going to show the demo of tracking your temperature today. You are able to modify this over time with what you should be tracking at that point in time in your journey. So it's not that every day this would be asked of you. You click the plus sign, you put in your temperature, and that enters into your log. One important thing that I think is on everyone's mind is, do I have to do this every day? What about smart devices? We recognize there are a lot of smart devices out there. We will at launch have an integration with some standard smart devices. And as those continue to build, we'll expand that accessibility so that what's in your Apple tracker will automatically be in here, which absolutely would be helpful. The other key thing with temperature, if you put in a temperature of 101, a message will come up. Call your transplant center. If you're someone that runs high or runs low, you can go in and modify it. This is to empower you to do what your provider team has told you to do. We're not telling you this. This is for you to do it and modify it and take what your team is telling you to do. For example, with weight, though, you can see trends. You can see a trend line going up. That might be an indication of that fluid retention we were speaking about earlier. So these are ways to be able to see it all graphically rather than in that paper notebook that we've been taking all of our metrics on. Next, we are going to talk about note taking. This is your digital note taker. This is where we hit that plus sign and we can create a note. That note might be a general note because you've noted a symptom, but it also might be a question that if you're like Jean Marie and you come with all of your questions, maybe some of them are written down next to your computer. This is a place to keep them all in your hand so that when you're ready to speak to your transplant team, if you're giving them a call or you're at the doctor's office, you can pull up your notes and you can sort by what were those questions that I had that were burning on my mind. And they're all in one place for you to be able to see. Next, we're going to, and I'm going a little quickly here, but you get the gist of it here. And again, we have our Happy Kidney welcoming us everywhere we go. And with down the road, we really want the kidney to get to know you and for you to react. Some people are going to be really happy with a warm and fuzzy. Someone's going to want to have an intention set, but someone's going to say, just give me the data. How many days have I been here? So we recognize there are different personalities. I can't tell you that we have that for day one, but we will make this more and more customized over time to you with that information. Now, the one thing everyone says is always have your medication list with you, right? Well, here we are. We've got our medication list with us at all times. And nothing against Epic, but it doesn't always have it perfectly recorded each day. This allows you to be empowered to have your medication list with you, and you can put this information in. You can add medications. This is an example of adding omeprazole. You put in how many tablets you're taking, how often you're taking it, and any notes and reminders that you need for when you're taking this medication. Of course, our app will remind you it's time to take your medications. And you can click the plus sign or you can respond to the note. And in that plus sign, it'll show all of the medications you're meant to take at that time. And you can confirm that you've taken that medication. So everything we've been talking about today and the importance of taking these very valuable, very important drugs when you're meant to take them, this is your tool to assist. And finally, that valuable doctor visit once a month or whatever time you're going, whatever pace you're going, depending on where you are in your journey. You can bring your phone and you can just chat and you can share the screen with your physician. But if you choose so, you can also create a report. And the report puts everything, if you can see up here, you choose the time frame. So this might be in the month since you last visited your doctor. That you can choose a time frame that you want. It has your recent health metrics. We know they'll take your metrics when you go in, but this is what you had last time you took them yourself. At the top are all those questions that you've been wanting to make sure you ask, as well as the trends that you've been seeing with your weight, with your temperature, things you've been tracking. What's really interesting, and we didn't show this in the demo, is the symptoms. You can track when you have GI issues, if you have headaches, if you have tremors, and actually you can see them and stack them up. So you see the days that you had multiple issues and which days those were. I know we all think we remember, but I think our body does a really good job of forgetting how much pain you were in last week or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. So this allows you to retain that information and share it. And also, as we said, take notes on the rash that you had, where it was, how it resolved. And then if you want to be honest, you can say, here are my medications and here are the doses that I missed. Now, this isn't necessary, this is illustrative. So we hope you wouldn't miss this many doses, but there might be something that you want to talk about that hopefully you wouldn't do this without speaking with your transplant team, and perhaps you did it in coordination with them. But if there was, for some reason, a dose that you missed of something, it would be marked here, and that would be a really good opportunity to discuss that with your transplant team. We're not promoting that, but we're just having it there for you in case. So that is our demo of Transplant 365.